Hey, welcome to day 19 of our chronological Bible reading plan. Today we are in Genesis 22 through 24. That puts us in talking about one of the craziest stories, I think, one of the weirdest, often these days especially, really misunderstood stories of the Old Testament. The sacrifice of Isaac takes up the entirety of chapter 22. Then we get a brief snippet of setting up kind of Abraham's family tree, specifically talking about where Rebecca fits into that. She's like a second cousin or first cousin twice removed, or I don't know how you do that math, but chapter 23 gives us Sarah's death and burial. And then chapter 24 is kind of an extended narrative about finding a wife for Isaac and Abraham sending a servant to go and find Rebecca and bring her back. And he does. There's a whole lot in all of this. There's plenty to talk about in all these things. The thing that stands out to me that I really wanted to get into was looking at the story of the sacrifice of Isaac. It's a weird account, but has a lot of cool stuff in it. There's a lot of cool parallels here with this story. First thing that stands out is he is told to take your son, your only son, Isaac, whom you love, go to the land of Moriah and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains I will tell you about. Mount Moriah later becomes known as the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. It's where they built Solomon's temple. It's still known as the Temple Mount today, and it's part of the same hill where, outside of the walled part of the city, Jesus was crucified. It's kind of a cool thing. There's some more parallels to Jesus, but let's continue. And then he chops the wood for the offering, and he goes out to the place that God had told him to, and he tells the other men, hey, you guys wait here. We're going to go offer a sacrifice to the Lord, and we will return when we're done. He's confident that even though God has already told him what's going to happen, you're going to go sacrifice your son there. Abraham's confident that he's coming back with his boy. God had promised that Isaac is going to be the one through whom the rest of his line is going to come. Why would God break his promise now? Abraham trusts him, goes all the way through, follows God no matter what it looks like is going to happen. He's trusting God. And man, that is an awesome amount of trust. There's something else. Verse 6 says, Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and laid it on his son, Isaac. He put the wood on Isaac. Isaac carries the wood that's going to be the source of his sacrifice up the hill. Same hill that Jesus walked up carrying a cross, his instrument of execution. Cool parallels in some of these things. Abraham goes all the way through with it. He brings Isaac up and he says, don't worry, the Lord's going to provide a sacrifice. He lays his son down, ties him up on I don't know at what point Isaac's going, Pop, this is not how we sacrifice an animal. But he goes along with it. It doesn't say anything like Isaac struggled or anything else. Somehow Abraham trusts God. He's getting Isaac to trust God, and they're setting things up, and Abraham raises the knife. And the angel of the Lord calls to him from heaven and said, Abraham. And he said, here I am. In verse 12, then he said, do not lay a hand on the boy or do anything to him, for now I know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your only son from me. And Abraham looked up and saw a ram caught in the thicket by its horns. So Abraham went, took the ram and offered it as a burnt offering in place of his son. And Abraham named that place, the Lord will provide, or as we've sung in one of the worship songs, Jehovah Jireh, or Yahweh Yireh. And the Lord is my provider. And then the angel of the Lord calls out to him and reiterates the covenant with him. And so there's some cool parallels there that point toward, that hint at, that foreshadow Jesus and his sacrifice on this same hill. And the redemption that will come there too, where Jesus goes willingly and lays his life down and is not stopped. There's no substitute. He is the substitutionary atoning sacrifice for us. But there's something, as we read Genesis, beyond just these foreshadowings of Christ, there's something to be said of just the faith to go through with something when there are elements that Abraham can already hang on to rely on and trust in God, and yet it's a pretty big ask. Do you trust God that much? I try to. And I feel like we've made some pretty significant moves and things that there's a whole backstory to planting packs that has a lot of trust and a lot of like, okay, we will go. And so there's been a lot of trust and sacrifice. And I would like to think that I would continue to believe God when he is leading me and follow him, even if it sounds a little crazy, even if I'm not sure. And when he has promised something, especially when he's promised something in his word, we can trust him to be faithful and complete what he starts. And I take a lot of comfort in that, and I hope you do too. Would love to hear your thoughts. Whatever God is speaking to you as you're reading these texts, comment on these videos, comment in the Bible app, shoot us a text message, let us know. We'd love to hear what God is saying to you as you read through the Bible this year, and how that's working on your heart and changing your life. That's it for today. Be rad for Jesus.